New pad, no pad. Let me show you how I went from this to this. In this video today, I am going to be changing out the brake pads and the rotors on my 2018 Mercedes-Benz Metris van. This video is about saving you money. I can show you how to do this yourself so you don't have to pay the crazy prices from the dealership. I got a quote for just the rear brake pads and they wanted $600. That's just for the pads. That's not even new rotors. I got this on Amazon, only $406. That's a complete rotor and brake kit with all the hardware you need. All you have to do is install it yourself. Okay, just to be clear, I am not being sponsored by PowerStop. I actually paid for all this with my own money. And the reason why I chose PowerStop, because I've used them in the past on my 2017 Tundra TRD Pro, and they worked awesome. First things first, and that is you got to take off the tire. Let's get that out of the way. Here I got a 3-ton floor jack, jacked it up right under the coil spring, and then I put a jack stand here. Always block the opposite wheel whenever you have a car on a jack. This here is the rotor. This here is the caliper. The caliper is a clamp, squeezes the brake pads in, if you're not familiar with that stuff, how it works. And this here is the caliper mounting bracket. Caliper has to come off by removing these rubber booties here. A number 6 Allen head socket. I've already loosened these up to make it easier on the video. Slide those out with the ratchet, of course. And then we're going to just slide this out like this. And then bring it over here, but be very careful because this is a hose right here. You don't want to damage that brake line and then have to run down the parts store and spend more money. Take you longer. Here's the pads. Pull them off like this. They just slide out of those little clips right there. Now, if this is your first time doing this, I highly recommend you take photos of each stage so you can remember how it goes back together. This was a 13/16, worked good for me. It might have been a metric, but I didn't have one that size, so loosened up this bracket here, and there's one more here. Yeah, and that piece just comes right out. Keep everything together so you know where it goes later. Now we need to take off this little screw right here, which is a T30 star socket. Okay, bam, rotor's off. This here is just the emergency brake. This is a drum brake system, because on the inside of here is for the drum brake, for just the emergency brake only, and then we have disc brake here, which is what we're replacing now. So I have no need to change these. These are very thick. They're in very great shape. So another thing I like to do is spray down all these parts because there's so much dust there from the brakes over time. It's just a mess. So you want to use a catch pan or a piece of cardboard or something. Just spray everything down, even in here. So, bracket right here. Suggest you buy more than one can for this because it doesn't go very far. I got this at AutoZone. Okay, so let's get the rotor in place. But before we do that, we want to clean this too. And make sure there's no debris on here, on both sides, as well as when you put the pads on, you want to make sure they stay super clean so you don't get grease all over them, because you get grease on your pad, it's not going to work. Just line up that little hole there. Now, some people might want to put a blue thread locker liquid on here, but I don't find it necessary for this screw. The lugs for the wheel are going to hold everything together. Just snug it on there. This is just to keep it lined up properly. Next step, we need to change out these here, these little brackets, with new ones that come with the kit. So let's get that done. Here's the new brackets that come with the kit. Take the pliers here, just pull these off one at a time. Got to match them up perfectly. But before we pop it in, we got to put some lubricant that also comes with the kit on the bracket here. So you want to take this, get this little hook in first, and then push down. And that'll seat itself. There we go. Okay, that's in. There we go. Okay, that's one side done. And you just repeat all the way around. I got all the new clips in here. That's where the brake pads are going to slide into. I got a little lubrication on here and here and here and here. So the pads will slide in, and you're also going to put some of that on the pads. I am going to put some blue thread locker medium strength on the bolts that are going to mount this to here like this. These are pretty important bolts, so I prefer to put a little bit of blue on there, just in case. Put some on this one too. Get in there. Okay, I'm going to take a 15/16 socket. I've got a pretty good long 1/2-inch ratchet here. That's some good torque on that. So the next step I got to do here is I got to compress this piston right here. So I'm going to take one of the old pads, put it on top of here, and use a C-clamp, and just I got to push this all the way back to here. I got to push this all the way into the cylinder. It's like a little piston. It's going to go all the way into here. That way there I can get the new pads on, because remember, the new pads are really thick. You want to open up your 4-inch C-clamp all the way. So I'm just going to take my old pad, just stick it right on top of there. Yes, that will work. Okay, awesome. This here is a very important step if it's your first time doing brakes. What you're doing here is you're pushing the piston all the way into the cylinder on the caliper so you can get the new brake pads in. Okay, that's all the way in. Okay, I'll leave it like that for now. I'm going to put my new pads on. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is put some of the lubricant right here in the ends. Don't get it on the pads, otherwise you're going to have to clean that off. It's not going to be easy. That's it. Put that one like that. I'm going to have this here pointed up. Let me do the back one first. Okay, so we got the two pads in place. Now the next step is going to be, let's take the clamp off the caliper and then slide the caliper over the top, just like that. As you're removing the clamp, don't worry, the piston is not going to come back out. Only if you were to step on the brakes, it would come back out before you put the caliper back on. I'm just going to slide that right over there. And we're going to break out our number 6 Allen head once again. Using the blue thread locker on these caliper bolts is recommended. Okay, let's get the ratchet out. As you can see, this is moving like it should. If there's no play in here when you're putting these together, be cautious, because something's jamming up in there and you may need to take the bolts out and clean everything and re-lubricate everything. But this is moving really good. So once I step on the brakes for the first time, that piston's going to come out of the caliper and it's going to snug itself right against the pads. But this is normal. This is what you want. Okay, so yeah, so they do have some new caps in here in the kit, which is great. Yeah, these ones don't have the little handle on them, but they do. They are new caps. All right, so those are on. All right, this one's done. New rotors in, new pads are in. It's a very simple process. It really doesn't take long. Even doing the rotors. If you're doing the pads, it'll probably take you 20 minutes aside. If you're doing the rotors, 30 to 45 minutes. A little more preparation, got to make sure everything's nice and clean. And one last thing I'll do before I put the wheel on is give it another spray down. Make sure there's no dirt on the rotors. So I've done all 3 wheels. This is my last wheel on the passenger side front. And this is where we have a sensor. So I got to show you how to take the sensor off, install the new one that comes with the kit. Okay, so this right here, this copper, what looks like copper wire, is the sensor. So we're going to unplug it right from there with a pair of needle nose pliers. There you go. That's all you got to do right there. The rear Calipers are smaller in size than the front ones because the front brakes on any vehicle do most of the stopping. So most of your stopping power is right here. So this is a bigger unit and it's heavier. So we're going to do a couple things to protect the brake line when we take this off. We're going to hang this up off the top spring with a bungee cord or a strap of some sorts. So once again, we're going to have 2 bolts for the caliper mounting onto the caliper bracket, and then we're going to have the 2 bolts for the caliper bracket that we're going to take off, and once again this screw here on the rotor. So that's it, the same amount of bolts and screws as the rear. Very simple process, guys, real easy to do. Okay, so right here I rigged up some plumber's tape, which is just like a galvanized strap, and a hook just to keep the weight of the caliper from damaging the sensor cable and the brake line. So this is very heavy. You don't want it to sag and be held up just by the brake line or the cable. Now that I removed the caliper, you can see that this wire connects to the caliper via the front brake pad. What we're going to do is replace this when I'm finished disassembling all this and reassembling everything. So we'll get to that in a minute. Stay tuned. Another thing I want to point out is these front pads. As you can see, they are falling apart. So they weren't as bad as the rear brakes, but they're definitely not great. And I got a big lip right here coming off of this rotor. So this van currently has 93,000 miles on it. And this is the first time I had to replace the rotors. The lesson I learned from doing the rear brakes is I should have put the new pads on the caliper bracket first. It was a little more difficult doing it when it was on the actual wheel assembly. So what I'm going to do first, put some of the lubricant here. Brackets are pretty simple to put on. Just pop them right in like that. There we go. Now I'm going to put some more lubricant. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, a little more lubricant right here on these edges, right there and right there. I found that if you slide it in and tilt it up, it's easy to put in, just like that. There we go, right there. Okay, perfect. And this is going to sit like this. So as you can see, here's our old pad, the front pad. So I got to put the sensor on the same exact way that one is. Interesting, this one doesn't have the bare wire like the other one does. See, this one here has bare wire. This has a sleeve over it. They got smarter. This to just slip inside there like that. Okay, so there you go. It just pops right on there. Ready to plug this in, just like the old one was. Caliper's going to sit just, bracket's going to sit just like that. Caliper comes over the top so it can squeeze the brakes in and out. Let's go install it. I'm going to put some blue Loctite on my bolts here for my caliper bracket. Just going to sit this on top of here. There we go. Okay, let's just snug that for now while I get the bottom one in. Let's take our 13/16 socket like we've been using and tighten these up. Got to break out the clamps because now I got to compress that piston. Both pistons, just so you know, the front caliper has 2 pistons, not 1. You're going to do it the same way you did the last one. All right, so what I'm doing here this time is I had to use 2 clamps because there's 2 pistons. This thing right here is in the way, so I couldn't put the clamp like dead center and push them both down at the same time. So I had to do one at a time. Just make sure you leave the first one all the way clamped while you're clamping the second one and squeezing it down and compressing it. Otherwise it'll pop back up. If you push one down, the other will pop up if there's no clamp. Now that I got them both down, now I can take the brackets off. The clamps off, sorry. Remember, I'm using the old real thin pads. Okay, and I got to be careful of my sensor. I got to make sure the sensor goes through the middle here. So now I just got to get this bolt in, that bolt in, and then reconnect my sensor. This is all set to go. I just got to put the wheel back on. I got the sensor back in. Sensor's real simple. Just line it up and take some nose pliers and slowly push it in. Real easy to do. Everything's tight. Everything's ready to go. Okay, everybody, all the brakes are done. Front and rears, everything's put together. Wheels are back on the van. And I even checked the brake reservoir to make sure. There was a little overflow. I pulled some of that out, some of that fluid. But overall, we're ready to go. But there's one last thing that the manufacturer recommends you do before you start driving around on your normal routine, is you got to break in the pads. It's a bedding process. So it's right here on the inside of the brake pad box. Right here, tells you what to do. 5 aggressive decelerations from 40 miles an hour down to 10. But don't stop the van completely. And once you hit 10 miles an hour, let off the brake and just coast. Do that 5 times without stopping the van. Then you're going to move on from here. 5 moderate decelerations from 35 miles an hour down to 5 miles an hour. Same thing, don't stop the van. Do this 5 times and then drive around without hitting the brakes too hard if you can avoid it. For 5 minutes, let the brakes cool off, and then you should be good to go. Purpose of this is to bed the brakes so you don't get a flat spot on the rotors or the pads. So I did do the same process on my Tundra Pro I used to have, because I bought the same brakes, and I never had a problem after that, so I'm assuming this works great. So follow the procedure, enjoy your new brakes. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.